The Great Reset is corporate communism. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from the Washington Post. This opinion piece which is saying that the Great Reset is corporate communism and it's coming to America. Well, I can't say I'd argue too much about that. So Joe Biden's just announced cabinet picks for Labor and Commerce, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh and Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo, respectively, share the common denominator of being tight and cozy with the unions. And that makes perfect sense when you consider the corporate-run communism that's coming to America's once Democrats take over the Capitol Hill. Here's the playbook, and here's what to expect in 2021. The pandemic has handed the far-left crowd a golden ticket for government takeover, for government-imposed crackdowns on individual freedoms, and for government-imposed restrictions against free market activities. Businesses have been shut. Business owners have been left reeling. Workers at these businesses have been forced to stay home and wait for stimulus dollars to save them from, yes, in some cases, starvation. Stimulus is another way of saying income redistribution. It's taking taxpayer dollars and giving it to those in need. That's not to say these businesses haven't deserved the money. That's not to say these hard-working business owners and employees haven't needed the money. But either way you slice it, stimulus is still a taking from Peter to pay Paul. Anyhow, back to the bigger theme, the corporate communism that's coming to America. Within the context of dealing with the coronavirus, there have been a couple of interesting phrases that have been bandied about in the media, namely the Great Reset and Build Back Better. They're not meaningless. They're not simple marketing catch-calls devoid of any deeper significance. No, they're political roadmaps. Just as America First and Make America Great Again were the phrases that lightened the policy path of President Donald Trump's administration, so too the Build Back Better and Great Reset phrases. Biden, on his own campaign website, makes that clear. Joe Biden's plan to build back better for American workers, one JoeBiden.com webpage stated. Build Back Better, Joe Biden's jobs and economic recovery plan for working families, another JoeBiden.com webpage stated. So what does this mean? Build Back Better is a World Economic Forum plan to reinvent capitalism so that companies are more focused on the greater good. Not profits, according to the WEF's own statement. Now that sounds good. And a lot of people will just eat that rubbish up, but that's dangerous. That is very dangerous. The greater good. Who decides what the greater good is? Which special interest group will be given that power? How to accomplish that? By the Great Reset. Again, that's according to the WEF's own words. Now is the time for a great reset of capitalism, the WEF wrote in June. A true recovery from the pandemic will not be about putting things back together the way they were. We need to build back better to reset. If we are to address the deep systematic vulnerabilities the pandemic has exposed, the WEF wrote in July. To improve the state of the world, the WEF is starting the Great Reset Initiative, the WEF wrote in September. Now for the communist part. This is where the actionable changes occur. This is where the talk turns to walk. In December, the WEF launched a new initiative called the Davos Manifesto. It posed the question, what kind of capitalism do we want? And it answered by laying out three possibilities: shareholder capitalism, state capitalism, and stakeholder capitalism. In short, shareholder is true capitalism. It is the kind where companies are in it to make money, where corporations are driven by profit and loss statements. It's the kind that's chugged America's economy to the top of the world for decades running. And it's the kind that has improved the quality of life for more humans in the last 100 years than any other ideological approach throughout all of the history of humanity. You can't argue with that. That's fact, everyone. Look up Hans Rosling if you don't believe that. The world's actually getting much better than it was. State-run capitalism is not really capitalism at all because it places the government in charge of directing the economy. And we're kind of in a quasi-system of that anyway, guys, with the amount of influence that they have. This is the whole neoliberalism rubbish. We need to move back to more more freedom, but I can't see the political will there. I'm concerned that people are just going to lap this up. They're going to buy the slogans, and they're just going to sign away their rights more and more. It's the kind of capitalism that's risen to prominence in many emerging markets, not least China, WF wrote. Stakeholder capitalism is the emerging beast. It positions private companies as trustees of society, and is clearly the best response to today's social and environmental challenges, WF wrote. It's the kind of capitalism that says corporations shouldn't be concerned simply with making a buck, but also serve as a social organism to society. Companies, in other words, should be motivated more by do-goodism than money. It's really the way the left gets its hands on Wall Street to drive forth policy, politics, and agenda that doesn't pass the smell test of Congress and the people. The Senate won't ratify a UN climate change treaty, no worries. Politicians will just pressure private businesses to voluntarily adopt clean energy standards and sustainable development practices instead. The end game is essentially the same. Congress won't pass so-called common sense gun laws, no worries. New Great Reset standards will ensure private companies restrict firearm sales and banks restrict funds to companies selling firearms. The businesses boot all gun carriers from their businesses. Second Amendment, whoosh, gone. The possibilities for control are endless. We should seize this moment to ensure that stakeholder capitalism remains the new dominant model, WF wrote. Our new Davos Manifesto states that companies should pay their fair share of taxes. What is a fair share? You know, everyone talks about a fair share, and most of the people who talk about a fair share don't pay much. Shows zero tolerance for corruption, uphold human rights throughout their global supply chains. That would be good. No, I've got no problem with that. Be great to see Apple doing that. Wouldn't that be great? You know, in all their factories in China. You've got so many hypocrites that then seem to argue for a sanctimonious position of moral authority as they, you know, type a message on their phone built with slave labor or forced labor. Fantastic. Yeah. Do people not see that? Do lefties not see their hypocrisy? That's the danger. What scares me most if people don't see it, and it's, you know, cognitive dissonance. They may not be able to. They may hallucinate a different version of reality to what's actually there because of their own inherent biases. That's the biggest danger, and that's the scary thing, because then you could be concerned with what they're willing to sacrifice for the greater good. Haven't we heard those terms before in the past? Do people read any history? It's probably because of my Germanic history. I'm quite concerned with the dangers of collectivism, you know, impinging on individual freedoms. We've seen throughout history that manifests in pretty much death and destruction every time. For starters, a new measure of shared value creation, oh boy, should include environment, social, and governance goals, a complement to standard financial matrix. Banking and business bigwigs have already swung into gear to fine-tune these new shared value matrices. The US Business Roundtable just announced it was embracing this great reset form of capitalism. Where it leads is here. Corporations will become the world's policy guides. And, well, we are seeing that right now with the deplatforming of people whose opinions aren't, well, appropriate. We're seeing people getting debanked, and not just in America, even here in Australia for ideological purposes. Corporate elites will take over where governments now serves. And the thing is, because they're not doing the shareholder approach to capitalism, it will be, it's going to be even worse form of, well, the drive to get ahead in society will no longer be depending upon your ability or your hard work. It will be on your ability to be a weasel, snitch, and a political rat, really, to work your way up. That's how all these leftists work. It's more to do with their political power than their actual ability. Clearly, companies should still seek to maintain an entrepreneurial mindset. Oh, thank you for allowing us to do that. but they should also work with other stakeholders to improve the state of the world. In fact, this later proviso should be their ultimate purpose. They already are. They already are. Look at how much better the world has gotten in the last 100 years. Look how much greater opportunities people have. Look at the improved access to just water, sanitation, food, and technology that people have. This is just going to get in the way of it all. And people are going to lose their rights. Those with the most money will rule. America's free, and they pretty much already do. It's just going to exacerbate. It's going to lock it in. It's going to destroy any chance that a lot of people have of climbing up. You'll be born into your caste, and you'll stay in it. America's free market will fall to the dictates of the world's wealthiest. We've seen it already. If you want an example of how this new model is playing right now, look no further than Twitter. CEO Jack Dorsey, out of his own imaginations of what serves as proper speech versus improper speech, has permanently banned Trump's key attorney, Lynn Wood. Why? He's incited violence. Twitter's talking head said. First Amendment, whoosh, gone. That's a small, very small glimpse into how corporations driven by social conscience serve. They become the arbiters of proper and acceptable human behaviors. They become the dictators of governance. Mask mandates, anyone? If government can't get it done the constitutional route, government can exert pressure on the private market to get the same done by a different route. No mask, no entry has become the normal shop store sign these days. Soon no vaccine, no entry. Soon no papers, no buying or selling. With the coming oligarchy, the coming top-down global Build Back Better and Great Reset campaign, citizens won't be able to travel, to work or go to school, to shop or sell without first meeting the standards set by corporate heads and their WF partners, all completely unelected too. It's a takeover of free markets and imposition of behavioral, political and economic standards on entire countries by unelected, unaccountable, often even unseen and unknown billionaire elites, and it's coming to America. It's communism dressed as social justice capitalism. Biden's announced nominations of union-friendly cabinet members play right into the Great Reset moment in time. Who else better equipped to cripple America's free market from within than union members? If seeing the battle to step one to winning the battle, then it's crucial to acknowledge. Build Back Better means something. The Great Reset is real, and America must fight the communism these soft-sounding phrases are actually selling. The WF, remember, is comprised of private companies and therefore largely sheltered from accountability or ballot box replacement. If WF's Great Reset initiative reaches fruition, even elections, and with that all the arguments over problematic election integrity, won't matter. America, like all the countries of the world, will be ruled and governed and regulated by a crowd of corporate elites and their billionaire friends. The Constitution will be just a piece of paper. Freedom will be only what they grant. And Cheryl Cumley is the author of this article, which I find is very good. From the Washington Times, everyone. What do you reckon? What do you think? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you next time.